I've got you under my skin, reds under the bed, your blues swept under the carpet, duck and cover, hands, face, space, and bumps of daisies, and be afraid, be deathly afraid, 'cause something wicked this way comes. You may not smell it on the evening breeze, or hear it in the rustling of the leaves, feel it in your bones, taste it on your breath, or see it in the breaking dawn, but you've been told it often enough in the breaking news. The second wave is coming. Could be a real fucking tsunami. I've got you under my skin. You either believe it or you don't. You may choose to believe in nothing, in which case you need do nothing about anything. If nothing matters at all but your own selfish right not to do everything you're told, and accept that as the one fact you'll never need to prove as a fiction, because it's just a fact. The moon was all aglow. Heaven was in your eyes that night that you told me those little white lies. Apparently, the bigger and blacker they come, the harder they are to dispute, the less likely people are inclined to believe they can't possibly not be true. I think Adolf Hitler said that, probably got it from Goebbels. He liked the idea. The guy's a fucking genius. We'll make people very afraid, and we'll spread that fear far and wide like it's a plague, which is a simile for maybe it is a plague by any other name, and people will do anything they're told by anybody who appears to have the situation under control. Their hands on the wheel of a fortune spinning out of control. If you don't do what you're told by those who know how to deal with plagues and appear to have sufficient power and pull to actually implement humanity's salvation, we'll put the fear of the devil into them. They're in the lab of the gods, lots of spectacle and massively synchronized goose-stepping, another Nazi dictum, to be affirmed with lots of catchy slogan mantras and emojied facial expressions of solemnly compassionate concern and resolute defiance against all the unfortunate odds that fate, nature, God, the devil, biotechnology, or the multi-million-dollar media corporations have leaked into our lives. Nothing personal, just business. We're taking care of business. No skull and bones about it. We're at war. And we need everybody on the same side. It's the only way to stop the other side winning. Nothing personal, just propaganda. You either believe it or you don't. If you do believe it, you won't be looking for documented proof. If you don't believe it, that's exactly what you'll be looking for. But documents can be forged. All you need is the right seal of approval. The stars all seem to know you didn't mean all those sighs. We need a manifesto, Mephisto. We need a plan. We need a graph to plot, to prove we're on the right track, a one-track mind. If we want to create order out of all this chaos, we need a one-track mind. First rule of under the thumb, we have to create the chaos. Who said that? I have no fucking idea, but it does sound like sound policy if you want to really get ahead in this world. But what the fuck would I know? I'm just a fucking poet. I'm not a Nazi. I'm not a politician. I'm not a scientist. I'm not even a paid-up member of a health spa, but I do know. When the poetry of life is being fucked over by state diktats to the point poetry is not even poetry anymore, just lyrical dilettantism of no use or ornamental service to the state or humanity in general, and at best will remain indifferently ignored, at second best deleted, or at worst consigned to a cage in the backlands of Colorado till it comes to its senses and starts penning epic glorifications of Stalin, Donald Trump, Boris Johnson, Joe Biden, Mike Pence, Kamala, whatever the fucking name is, Billy Gates, the World Health Organization, or the Antichrist himself, whoever that is. An Antichrist by any other name. That'll keep the wine flowing. Be drunk, I say, be drunk. And be damned, blessed, deleted, or Pulitzer-elected poet laureate, maybe even knighted on your knees before the crown's ermine bedecked earthly delegate. Which side are you on? Whose side are you on? Well, I'm not sure. I'm in two minds. Hey, Schizophrenia is key to breaking down any purposeful opposition. Divide and conquer. Take the world by the hand and lead it into the stock market. Trading in unions and trimming hedge funds on your PC politically corrected mind implant. You'll need to update your skill set. Cancel all your culture and finally face up to the truth that you're surrounded on all sides by the right side, and you're in dire danger of being left behind in history's landfill. And truth be told, that may be all you were ever good for. So are you with us or against us? Well, I'm not sure. I try. But there's no forgetting. When evening appears, I sigh, but there's no regretting. In spite of my tears, fears, years, too many beers, too few beers, too many beautiful girls, and not enough time, well, I think the answer lies in the soil. Simplify. What's saucy for the gander is just ketchup for the goose. It would seem nature is the one thing not addictive in this world, insufficiently compelling to keep the same cream always risen at the top. I read this document online, available on PDF file, purporting to be an authentically KGB defector-leaked, whistle-blowing pamphlet outline of covert Soviet strategy to undermine and collapse the Western democracies and complete Lenin's world revolution, I quote verbatim, through a systematic demoralization and destabilization of its cherished institutions, education, religion, culture, media, family, and law and order, insidiously promoting and fostering permissiveness, relativity, reiteration of lies as fact, political correctness, I'm quoting verbatim, the marginalization of news, concentration on fake non-issues, double standards, the politicization and commercialization of religion, assimilatingly happy-clappy events, empty ritual, racism, diversity, degradation of breeding, breakdown of marriage, mass sports, mixing of races, elevation of racism to Hitlerian levels, I quote verbatim, and that's just the demoralization, destabilization. How are we going to do it? Alcohol, drugs, pornography, and the elevation of science and technology to a divinity. Fair enough. Ring any bells? In the immortal dittyings of Cole Porter, anything goes. We're not in the olden days now. If you glimpse any stockings, they're undoubtedly draped over the edge of the bed, and somebody's getting fucked from behind, on top, underneath, on the table, against the wall. I swear, Netflix and Amazon Prime must be using stock footage by now. Obligatory graphic fornication at least once every episode. Libido rules. Freedom at its finest. It's what makes the world go round and up and down and back and forth, thrust and parry, and deep into the heart of that pistol-packing Texas whore with the hearts of tarnished, transmutated gold. No longer just a brassy hussy. Maybe Cole Porter was a closet Marxist-Leninist, working undercover of a Yale education and catchy hooks. And Joe McCarthy, a loyal patriot, reading between Cole Porter's lines, on the right track, that our star-spangled republic and the White House itself has been infiltrated by hidden agendas. Is that why he was rapidly defamed, degraded, disgraced, and taken out? Did JFK realize Joe was on the right track? Apparently they were close. And is that why he was taken out? See you next week on CNN, the BBC, or Netflix. We thrive on coming at you from every angle but your own. Everybody needs perspective, and we're here to give you one. We'll only take you down a rabbit hole if you don't wait for the credits to roll. This white rabbit never disappears for good, and we'll always bring you back to Kansas. Otherwise, you'll be left all angular and at the mercy of the Queen of Hearts and croquet mallets. It may have been a mystery to Albert Einstein, but to us it's clearly edited in high-definition Technicolor and brought to your own living room. Choose your often quite entertaining poison. The devil was in your heart, but heaven was in your eyes. Just read my lips. Alchemy is a foot. Give it a foot, it'll turn your whole backyard into a high-rise slum project. Something alchemical this way comes. You either believe it or you don't. As a teenager at school, I remember reading this Elizabethan play, The Alchemist, written by Ben Jonson, I believe. I could look it up on Google, but I'm not going to. That's not the point, really. Or maybe it is, maybe it should be. But at the moment, it seems to be another point, another time, another headspace. At this point, I'm quite happy not to remember much about it, other than it was a comedy farce, some slapstick buffoonery, unless I'm getting things mixed up. And it was the first time I'd ever come across the word alchemy, magic by any other name. Reminded me of Mickey Mouse in Walt Disney's Sorcerer's Apprentice cartoon. These buffoons skivvying for the master wizard scientist, the alchemist, whose one passion and purpose in life was to turn base metal into gold. Magic. No other word for it. Not science, because science was boring. I was 15 years old. This was quite entertaining. It was the magic that got my attention. Couldn't wrap me head around it any other way. Never heard of John Dee at the time. That's another story. I mean, you can't turn something into something else. No more than you can make something out of nothing. Only God could do that. And magicians, of course, but not really. We knew it was a trick, an illusion, a sleight of hand, invisible wires. Something going on when you weren't looking. It never crossed my mind. Most everything I was living in used to be something else. The whole world, for instance, not magic, just progress. All perfectly explainable, boringly explainable. Even religion. People just needed somewhere to go in their Sunday best to believe in God before roast beef, mash and a nice pint of John Smith's. Never crossed my mind that all matter was mutable. Natural matter, even human matter. Material that could be tinkered with, fused with other matter into something totally different and far more valuable than in its raw states. Offer me a carrot at 15-year-old and a Mars for a Mars, but no contest. Basic science with a bit of genius thrown in for sweet measure. Real value for money, because science was based on value judgments, not virtue judgments, especially if you can't find any great virtue in a Mars bar. Valences, values. Any virtue measured only by its value could connect to usury in the modern financial system, but now I'm just tinkering with my own brain, trying to make it more valuable, if not necessarily more practically adaptive to virtuous behaviour. Just the facts, ma'am. I'm a cop, not a psychiatrist. I'm a scientist, not a moral philosopher. Don't recall any scientists being made saints. Maybe demons transformed into saints, atoned reprobates. Just give me a Nobel Prize and research funding, I'll be fine. But I digress. Profit and loss. What profiteth a man to grow a carrot when he could make a Mars bar instead at exponential profit? Practical science. The other, just grubbing laboriously around in the dirt for little more than cost. Where's the fucking machine when you need one? I was no Marxist at 15 years old. If labour is the source of all value, didn't seem to value earning a very good living from it. In my youthful observations of how this world worked, success was not being a labourer, which just meant you weren't smart enough to do anything else but what you were told. Virtue didn't seem to come into it, except on Sunday mornings. Besides, I had enough to think about at 15 years old, like bacon sandwiches, Mars bars, Carol Edwards, and the big football match on Saturday. All perfectly explainable. Where was I? I was in the universe. An organism, is it an organism or a machine? Ask your local friendly pathologist. I've been noticing lately on TV, cops and killer dramas, a hell of a lot of naked cadavers on slabs being graphically dissected. Plotline proving if or how they were most definitely murdered. If they weren't, just shove them back into the box and move on to the next episode. Like any normal viewer, should I assume. I can't help being a little shocked how imperviously detached they can remain. The pathologists, not the cadavers. Nothing personal, just pathology. Science, their business in this case. No sense of any spiritual invasiveness of privacy, just scientific methodology. Somebody has to do it. Otherwise, homicidal maniacs will just roam free. Aren't you being a little over-squeamish and paranoid to suspect there may be ulterior motives to this sudden cascade of graphically dissected cadavers, pulling the human machine apart to discover what stopped it ticking over, a clog in the oil filter, a crack in the carburetor, or just a bump in the road? Like it may be programmed part of some agenda to perceive science and scientists as the ultimate arbiters of the truth, unrefutable. And we need to face up to it, otherwise we're just living in a fucking dream world, real life, just sex autopsies, homicidal maniacs, and actors dressed up as aliens. Get real, sugar buttocks. I watched some episodes of this BBC series on Amazon Prime, Silent Witness it was called. Contents of the stomach, aberration of the liver's lining, curious puncture marks under the left ventricle, and DNA, of course. The killer was obviously the fucking vicar. In my humbly definitive expert opinion, of course, Your Honour. This team of pathologists are working hand in glove with the police. They're the hands that solve the case. The cops are just the gloves to make sure nobody contaminates the scene. They're attending interviews, questioning suspects on their own time. I'm not sure I've ever seen this before. These guys are far from backroom evidence providers. Sherlock Holmes transformed into an advanced medic. You don't need a nose for it if you've got a scalpel, a degree from Imperial College, and a DNA profiler handy. It's elementary, my dear Watermark. That blood spatters to the left when it should be splashing from the right. Definitely the vicar. Or is it part of some psychological alchemy? Bit of a stretch, you think? Of course. The pathologists are seriously humanized. Have their personal problems just like me or you. They just really like grubbing around in somebody else's abdominal sac and scraping bits of their skin off. But good intentions all round. Confirmed in the end, making this world unsafe for homicidal maniacs. All par for the human golf course. Bunkers, bogeys, sand traps, and not making the cut. Of course, the homicidal maniacs also get their graphic moments in the high-definition sunshine. There must be guys and gals, I'm no misogynist, equal rights for all to be sadistically bloody-minded. There must be guys and gals payrolled to the high hilt, spending hours and days, maybe years, sequestered in production backrooms, coming up with ever more psychopathically ingenious ways to torture, mutilate, and utterly desecrate the human body. Jesus, do people really do this to each other? They do. You want to see some photographs? My friends in MI6. I'm glad I didn't join the mafia or CIA Black Ops. Our gang, the gang's all here. Pass the popcorn. Whatever happened to common courtesy? Just shoot the fucker's brains out and have done with it, for God's sake. God still keeps popping up all over the place, even though nobody seems to believe in him but brainwashed fanatics. Like somehow he's to blame for all this. Must be my Christian C of E upbringing. For diversity's sake, I should let Allah pop up every now and then. Otherwise, people might think I'm just blaming or thanking the Christians, and the Muslims have nothing to do with anything at all. And is this some sort of shock therapy or trauma by proxy, alchemy, to transform human consciousness into a fear and anxiety-ridden matrix of stress-stricken, helpless victimhood in the light of the terrifying truth of our human nature and all this naturally toxic shite invading our anatomical cavities. But I'm no scientist. Of course, I could switch to the Disney Channel or Suffer Ye Little Children and dysfunctional family values, because courtesy and virtue seem only to get you into a stultifying suburban faux ranch house dealing with hyperactive, over-sexualized brats with big, wide, cutesy, bright eyes adopting freedom-loving social media appliances, attitudes, and brief but body-hugging outfits, utterly irresistible to any observant pederast. Guess I just have a dirty mind. Hey, the little cuties. Well, both parents juggle work, family, and extramarital flirtations with spoon-feeding demented granny and changing only slightly less demented granddad's diapers. Both lost their mind, but hanging on for dear life to their endearingly vegetative dribbling and capacity to still nail down a heartwarmingly uplifting punchline, and a defiant will to live, at least till their 5 series contract runs out, or the grandkids have graduated to GQ, and Victoria's Secret. Maybe we should have joined the Mafia or CIA Black Ops. Mom and Pop ruefully banter over Pop-Tarts. Nothing personal, just espionage, a vital component in this dog-eat-dog, deceive-the-deceiver world. Double bluffs abound, so we won't know till the end who the real villain is. That'll keep 'em binge-watchingly addicted. And is this what humanity has become? A vicarious expression of demonic urges? No wonder the smart people want to take over. We're a bunch of pseudo-psychopathic Three Stooges, cosmetically masked and socially distancing, even before it became a government mandate to actually mask and social distance. You're either a yay-sayer or a nay-sayer, a conspiratorial nutjob or a loyal voter and law-abiding taxpayer. So long as we have something to argue about over Pop-Tarts, who are you going to vote for in the next pre-selection? The universe really does seem to be a machine, not an organism. Must be. If its parts are so movably mutable, scientists can do what they progressively like with them. The master alchemists rule okay. And we need guinea pigs, human guinea pigs. We're sick to death of just using regular ones. Doesn't prove anything really about how human beings can better themselves. You need to join in this noble task force. We need volunteers, okay. We need brave, forward-looking, intrepidly adventurous souls, willing to not just put their own life, but the whole of humanity into our hands. We promise to keep our gloves on, either that or just anybody who otherwise can't afford a crack pot to piss in. We advise you. There may be side effects, but you don't think being in a mafia or CIA Black Ops, MI6 or a Netflix sitcom has its side effects? That is what this is all about. Eradicating all side effects. One side fits all. We shall eliminate poverty, or at least anybody so impoverished they can't afford a smartphone, a TV, and a subscription to Netflix. Anybody up for it? Nobody up for it? Okay, gloves off. No false pretenses anymore. Somebody has to get on with perfecting humanity. All them years dissecting cadavers and harvesting organs, mixing and matching, splicing and dicing body parts and stem cells. I'd say we've earned our credits. So roll up your fucking sleeve, say a little prayer to Anthony Fauci, and it won't hurt a bit, just a little prick. You may feel a little soreness later, but just shrug it off, eat a lot of Snickers bars, and in a few months you'll be fine. Maybe an itchy rash in places you can't scratch, but other than that, in several years you won't feel a thing. You might not even think too much either. 20 years on, you may be vaguely wondering why rabid arthritis and dementia came on so early, but that'll soon become your new normal. And old normal will just be that kind of nice dream you never once had. I speak from the bottom of my heart, which may be all I have left, given my arsehole's been tapped for ultimate hygiene. No shit at all. Eco-sustainability with a vengeance. One response to climate change. Human beings are such an adaptable species. Especially if their IQ was pretty low to begin with. We could take it down so deep, you'd be over the moon just to be given your own cozy little cage to live in. Return home to, after an honest day's digging an underground bunker or an interplanetary UFO hire. Either that, or if you've become too disabled by now, we'll put you into an equally cosy care home and ventilate you to a merciful, if briefly agonizing death. And be sure to notify the moron in the once neighboring cage you peacefully and proudly passed on in the service of humanity. Fair dues. Best to have stayed home and watched Silent Witness. watch it long enough, you'll have no doubt you're just an animated cadaver anyway. So what the fuck have you got to lose, really? Livestock to the slaughterhouse. As soon as we fatten you up enough, all them bacon sandwiches and Mars bars, it's always the most obese the first to go. Why do you think we're feeding you all this junk? There's method in our madness. Keeps you occupied, a bit like the government. They've been preoccupied for quite a while now. Colonization has a noble history. So does slavery, if you look at it from the half-full perspective. Character building, guts, resilience, persistence, patience, grace under pressure, and ingenuity, all that. And coming up with blues and jazz at the same time, can't argue with that. Wasn't it worth it? You should start with the guts and resilience. The rest will just be cream on our cake. You can keep the residuals, minus our commission, of course, which we'll need up front, credit card only. You never know where them dollar bills have been. I mean, have you ever seen the smile on a cute little native kid's face when they take their first bite of a Mars bar? It can break your heart. It's all downhill from there. Give him a carrot, he'll turn up his nose. We can put satellites in space, for God's sake. Could you do that? Could God do that? Why the fuck would God do that? He already has his satellites in space, but they don't work for us. They may work for him, but they're not working for us. We need our own satellites in space, working for us. Let God fiddle around with his own cyclical meanderings. We're going forward into the linear, not only God knows what. In such an experienced world, innocence can be painful. So we'll need to find a preventative cure for it. First thing we need to do is take good and evil out of the equation. What's good for the goose may be evil for the gander. What's evil for you may be doing everybody else a shit pile of good. There's you, and there's the greater you. That's us. Just remember yourself has no scientific basis in truth. Let's face it, everybody's just subjects and objects. Any objections so far, my subjects? That was a joke. We all know religion is a joke. At best, the opiates of the masses. Doesn't work anymore. We built up a tolerance. Doesn't get you high anymore. You just finish up on your knees, praying to an unprovable entity for this fucking sermon to come to an end. You need to try some real opiates instead. Tried, untested, but strangely enough regulated to do whatever we intended them to do. No point listing the ingredients. Most people could barely read English, never mind Latin and ancient Greek. It's the thought that counts. Anybody listening to this who's been abducted by aliens? Wasn't that bad, was it? I mean, you're still here. Your mind might be a bit fuzzy about what really happened out there, but how much do you remember about that holiday in Scarborough when you were 5 years old? No substitute for a vacation, no matter how unmemorable. Some people just disappeared altogether. You haven't given that a second thought? 1 minute you didn't know they existed, next minute they don't. Best to think they were taken on a very long vacation. People and kids go missing every day. Doesn't exactly make the headlines. A lot of money goes missing too, and I'm not talking about somebody losing their wallet. Unless they had such a very big wallet, they need to keep it in a safe deposit vault on some offshore island hideaway. Trillions, maybe zillions. Wads of $100 bills or billion-dollar gold security bonds. Gone off the book, maybe off the world. Apparently leaving the Fed with nothing in reserve but taxpayer indemnities and future magic carpet banking. But that's another story. Though it could be connected to all the missing people and kids. All that used to glow is not necessarily gold. Do you know how much a human being is worth these days on the interplanetary free market? Never mind a kid. Worth their weight in transport costs plus overheads. Talk about bang for your buck, value for money. I mean, we all know how much fun an adult can have with a kid. Can revive your life force. Definitely puts you in the mind of doing exactly what you're told in future. Once you've experienced a kid being tortured and sacrificed, wow, the rush. It can change your whole perspective on being alive in this world. Experience something you'd never imagined before. A lot of people can't wait to experience it again, though for some, they may have to settle for a once-in-a-lifetime thrill. quite enough to keep them in the procurer's pocket for the rest of their professional life. Nothing personal, just blackmail. Where does the thrill end? Where does the thrill end and the trauma begin? Maybe as soon as you start trying to forget it never really happened, there's a challenge. Especially when that malevolent fucker keeps showing you video outtakes again and again. That's you, remember? That's you, when the force was with you. Backed up by science, of course. Nothing personal. We all have to make sacrifices. Let's face it, humanity is a traumatized species. As soon as you start struggling to breathe, we're here to eliminate that struggle. But you have to work with us. First thing you do is try not to breathe at all. Wearing a mask helps. And whatever you do, don't let anybody breathe on you, because there's a fucking toxic shitload of deadly viruses all over the damn place. For a start, these ubiquitously capricious, invisible viral buggers might be flirting with you even now. On social media, you may think you're alone. Well, you are alone, even though you don't think you are. At the same time, you are and you aren't. It's very, very complicated. You need to be a scientist to really understand this. Trust me, I'm not a scientist, but I like to think I'm speaking on their behalf. At least that's what I'm being paid for. Because in truth, I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, but I'm telling you, you're in great danger here. You need to keep washing your hands every few minutes, disinfecting your face page. You don't know who or what the fuck is suddenly going to turn up on there. Maybe a friend, may not be a friend, could be a troll, could be a pixie, could be a mad fucking scientist gone virally rogue. You have no idea where these people have been, friend or not. If they don't sleep in the same bed as you, trust me, you can't trust them. Even if they sleep in the same bed, you got no idea who they bumped into in the grocery store. You don't know who or what the fuck is planning to pay you a viral visitation. Reality could pounce on you from off that screen at any moment. Viral, not virtual reality. Sound a bit far-fetched? Well, it is far-fetched. Everything going on in this world at the moment is far-fucking-fetched. You're going to have to go a long way to bring it back down to earth. At least to your local grocery store, though. What's going on in your local grocery store 6 months ago would have seemed far-fetched 6 months ago. You would have thought everybody's gone mad. Now you're more likely to think all these mass dividers are trying to drive you fucking mad. But this isn't about you, okay? Can you get that into your thick, selfish skull, you great global Glaswegian gobsmacked Googlehead? People are dying for Billy Connolly's sake. That's fucking disgusting. You see that fella? Just took a piss on that wee chappie's trouser leg. You'd think he would have noticed. Well, you didn't. I'm channeling, in case you hadn't realised, I'm channeling one of the funniest comedians I've ever seen live in concert. Where was I? I've lost me bullet points. I need to take a very deep breath. Aha! The contents of a little boy's mask. A whole fucking mould and bacteria brewery. If COVID doesn't get you, well, we'll tell you it did. And you'll either believe it, or you won't. I've got you. Under my synthetic skin, of course. I watched this Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma. Somebody told me I should watch it. And given the tenor of the times, I thought, well, maybe I should give it a try. Acquiescing to what somebody tells me I should do. I might need to get used to it. Maybe even learn to like it. Get myself a trendy gangster mask with sparkles and tassel trimmings, and exercise me muffled vocal projections might come in handy if I ever do get back onto a living stage again. So I watched The Social Dilemma. Figured it might give me some mutually familiar topical conversation option, a commodity in short supply these past months, given nobody wants to listen to when you're down and with what they prefer, preferably be out of their mind. Mainstream au courant must be if it's on Netflix. How the internet, it's about how the internet and social media in particular is fucking with and fucking up humanity and the world. Seemed pretty obvious to me, but I kept watching anyway. Most of the stuff I've already suspected, but it was kind of reassuring to hear some insider ex-employees blow a few whistles on a Netflix-sanctioned, credibility-demanding, industrially produced movie, telling people they were analog digital junkies. They were users, who funded it? Maybe I should have looked closer at the credits. Could have been Mark Wallenberg or Zuckerberg. The double bluff, steam control being par for the conspiratorial concourse. But The TV was off by then. I had me quota for the night. I needed to go think my own thing through. The documentary, did kind of wilt a bit every now and then, as these whistle-blowing techies insistently implied. Nobody's to blame. No one person is to blame. There's no malevolently intended human input. Just good intentions warped by a business model that kind of got out of control. The machine took over, AI, pre-programmed as any business model would be, for profit and success. Can't have one without the other. Ask any trillionaire businessman. Ask Bobby Geldof. Or was it Bernie? It was Bernie made off with everybody else's life savings. Bobby just globalized charitable production values. The artifice took over on its own rampage to satisfy its programmer. Nothing personal at all, just cryptomania doing its job, causing division, chaos, depression, suicide, and marginalizing any flesh and blood community pretty much out of existence. Everybody being fed different news, different truths tailored to suit their artificially ingested profile, manipulated 24/7 to desperately seek for likes on Facebook. None or too few, you're depressed for months. Too many, you're being driven nuts trying to live up to all that likable popularity. Either way, you've been eating lots of product to ease the pain and stress. Valium, strontium, plutonium, asphyxium, delirium, with Photoshop celebrity portrait filters and cutesy emojis and all these amazing digital cosmetics. It's a fucking phony paste-up reality that makes no human sense. But we're all to blame. It's just another well-intentioned phenomena gone awry, and we need to fix it, since we have to live with it. Don't throw the bathwater out with the baby. There's profit in sewage. The window's been opened. The door's been opened. You have to go through to the next door and the next door. Even though the sign on every door says update, you need to update now, otherwise you will be deleted, outdated, and irrelevant to any current trends ad infinitum, or at least till you're moving past the speed of enlightenment. So enlightened you can see everything in the dark, so long as you keep your windows open. Everything except your own reflection. By now, a perma-based emoji, smiley face, on a paste-up background of a distant figure in the Alps who is obviously having the time of their life. The documentary embeds this fanciful or not triple split personality and actor techie to show how a user's mind and behavior can be controlled to best effect, keeping them hooked online. A couple of likes here, a couple of emojis there, some unexpected reminder of an old flame who may be triggering some renewed fire. Because they're very aware of this moment. You have no significant other, and you're on the market for at least some digital romance. Leaning towards the Democrats. Hey, have we got news for you? You might want to rethink your politics. Check out what Taylor Swift just said on Twitter. Once you've experienced the wonders it can perform, how do you keep them down on a farm? Even if they might prefer to stay down on the farm. This land is our land. No, it isn't. It's our land. Click me app Uber. Click me app and Uber turns up in 30 seconds. This guy delights. Does it make any fucking human sense to move that fast? If nobody's been beaten to death, meanwhile, the profits keep rolling in. The profits keep rolling in to fund a new world. And at one point, one of the whistleblowers bemoans Google's part in creating chaos and slaughter in Myanmar. I didn't even know I had an Myanmar. Apparently, somebody or some corporation put up the money to make it worth their while, encrypting such a program to create such an outcome. And it worked. The lead techie didn't mention anybody's name, but didn't somebody there notice the pop-up ads? Embedded marketing among all those weeping, wailing mothers and desecrated cadavers? Didn't that give them a clue that too many people were being very, very seriously unfriended? And in the end, who benefited, other than Google? Doesn't any one of these once complicit ones care to follow up that money trail Or is it all really just lack of technological foresight, short-sighted, single-minded, blinkered business acumen? Because nobody he knew was actually getting their limbs dismembered. The movie implicitly, embeddedly degrades conspiracy theories. It doesn't address the independent expert journalists, historians, virologists, anthropologists, etc., who have simply been deleted from Google's web. No debate, issues either closed or limited perspective. Or is it just Alexa, Siri, Hal cutting their artificially intelligent teeth on anybody who doesn't fit the program profile they've been given? Just a bunch of fucking losers. No profit in that, given where the real money is coming from. Just doing my job. Don't delete the messenger just because I'm giving everybody different messages. The monolith may land at any moment. While these techies finale plead for more technologically ethical human conscientiousness. But who are they talking to? Don't they realize you have to own or at least manage and payroll these companies if you really want to do anything about it? I guess you could always apply to Billy Gates for funding. Not sure Billy Joel would have the financial clout. Hey, I'm just a song and dance man. If the music stops, must mean you didn't upload the whole album. And I'm hurt. I'm very, very hurt. I'm disappointed, even suicidal. I guess nobody likes me anymore. I should go and eat worms. But each time that I do, just the thought of you makes me stop. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. Oh, that breeze. I can't hear that breeze. Mother Nature's breeze. Oh, that breeze.